Hi, good evening. Welcome to Read with Chide, day 70. We're all the way at day 70, and I'm super excited. I hope you've had a great day. I hope that you are excited and ready to read the Bible with me. Do well to please share your thoughts, comments, questions, shocks, excitement in the comment section as we read together. Do well also to share the link of today's with your friends, loved ones, everybody, so that they will join us as we read the Bible together, seeing Jesus in the Old and New Testament, and you know, getting to understand these things better as we read it aloud and hear it for ourselves. Are you ready to read with me? Let's get right into it. Today we are reading Deuteronomy chapters 13, 14, and 15. Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 1. If there arise among you, now this is Moses still giving them, instructions for the new land that they're going into. The chapters we read yesterday talked about how, don't worship their gods. In fact, destroy their altars, the places where they worship their gods, so that you're not tempted to worship their gods. Don't try to find out how they worship their god. Don't try to worship me that way. These people were sacrificing their children to their gods. Don't do that. I don't want that. Chapter 13. If there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and giveth thee a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder come to pass, whereof he spake unto thee, saying, Let us go after other gods which thou hast not known, and let us serve them. So he has said something will happen, and it happened. And he's now saying, Oh, yeah, let's go and worship another God. Verse 3. Thou shalt not hearken unto the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for the Lord your God proveth you to know whether ye love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. Ye shall walk after the Lord your God, and fear him, and keep his commandments, and obey his voice, and ye shall serve him and cleave unto him. So it doesn't matter that, oh, this person is a soothsayer, what he said came to pass. What has God said to you? Verse 5. And that prophet and dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he had spoken to you to turn you away from the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, to thrust thee out of the way which the Lord thy God commanded thee to walk in. So shalt thou put the evil away from the midst of thee. If thy brother, the son of thy mother, or thy son, or thy daughter, or thy wife of thy bosom, or thy friend which is as thine own soul, entice thee secretly, saying, Let us go and serve other gods, which thou hast not known, thou nor thy fathers, namely of the gods of the people which are round about you, nigh unto thee, or far off from thee, from the one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. Thou shalt not consent unto him, nor hearken unto him. Neither shall thine eye pity him, neither shalt thou spare, neither shalt thou conceal him, but thou shalt surely kill him. Thine hand shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people. And thou shalt stone him with stones that he die, because he had sought to thrust thee away from the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. And all Israel shall hear and fear, and shall do no more any such wickedness as this is among you. If thou shalt hear say in one of the cities which the Lord hath given thee to dwell there, saying, Certain men, the children of Belial, are gone out from among you, and have withdrawn the inhabitants of their cities, saying, Let us go and serve other gods which ye have not known. Then shalt thou inquire, and make search, and ask diligently, and behold, if it be truth, and the thing certain, that such abomination is wrought among you, thou shalt surely smite the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, destroying it utterly, and all that is therein, and the cattle thereof with the edge of the sword. And thou shalt gather all the spoil of it into the midst of the street thereof, and shalt burn with fire the city and all the spoil thereof, every whit of the Lord thy God, and it shall be an heap forever, if it shall not be built again. And there shall cleave not of the cursed thing to thine hand, that the Lord may turn from the fierceness of his anger, and show thee mercy, and have compassion upon thee, and multiply thee, as he hath sworn unto thy fathers, when thou shalt hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep all his commandments which I command you this day, to do that which is right in the eyes of the Lord thy God. Chapter 14. And Ye are the children of the Lord your God. Ye shall not cut yourself or make any baldness between your eyes for the dead. So these are things that the people who were living in that land used to do in worship of their gods. Verse 2, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself above all the nations that are upon the earth. Thou shalt not eat any abominable thing. These are the beasts which ye shall eat: the ox, the sheep, and the goat, the hart, and the roebuck, and the fallow deer, and the wild goat, and the pigard, and the wild ox, and the chamois, and every beast that parted the hoof, and cleaveth the cleft into two claws, and cheweth the cud among the beasts that ye shall eat. Nevertheless, these ye shall not eat of them that chew the cord, or of them that divide the cloven hoof, as the camel and the hare and the coney, for they chew the cord, but divide not the hoof. Therefore, they are unclean unto you. Now, this is where clean and unclean came in. They are unclean unto you. And the swine, because it divided the hoof, yet cheweth not the cord. Yet cheweth not the cord, it is unclean unto you. Ye shall not eat it, or ye shall not eat of their flesh, nor touch their dead carcass. These ye shall eat of all that are in the waters, all that have fins and scales shall ye eat, and whatsoever has not fin and scales ye shall not eat, it is unclean unto you. Of all clean birds ye shall eat, but these are they of which ye shall not eat: the eagle, the ossifrage, and the osprey, and the glede, and the kite, and the vulture after his kind, and every raven after his kind, and the owl, and the nighthawk, and the cuckoo, and the hawk after his kind, the little owl, and the great owl, and the swan, and the pelican, and the gier eagle, and the cormorant, and the stork, and the heron after her kind, and the lapwing, and the bat, and every creeping thing that flieth in is unclean to you; they shall not be eaten. But of all clean fowls ye may eat. Ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself. Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat it, or thou mayest sell it unto an alien. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not seethe a kid in his mother's milk. Thou shalt truly tithe all the increase of thy seed, and the field that the field bringeth forth year by year. And thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God in the place where he shall choose to place his name there. The tithe of thy corn, of thy wine, of thine oil, of thy firstling, of all thy heads, and of all thy flock, and thou mayest learn to fear the Lord thy God always. So the point, or the a major reason for tithing for the Israelites, right? For the Israelites at that time, of course, there was, God had said, so that there may be meat in my house. God had instructed that the Levites, that is what they will eat and all of that. But also make sure you pay tithes of everything, so that you are constantly having me top of mind in all that you do. Again, while these were instructions to Israelites, the lesson here applies to us even today, to ensure that in all that you are doing, your work, your assignments, your ministry, everything you do, you put God first. You are constantly thinking of God first. Verse 24, and if the way be too long for thee, so that thou art not able to carry it, or if the place be too far from thee, which the Lord thy God shall choose to set his name there, when the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, then shalt thou turn it into money, and bind up the money in thine hand, and shall go unto the place which the Lord hath chosen. And thou shalt bestow the money for whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, for oxen, or for sheep, or for wine, or for strong drink, or for whatsoever thy soul desireth. And thou shalt eat there before the Lord thy God, and thou shalt rejoice, thou and thine household. And the Levite that is within thy gates, thou shalt not forsake him, for he hath no part nor inheritance with thee. At the end of 3 years thou shalt bring forth all the tithes of thine increase the same year, and shalt lay it up within thy gates. And the Levite, because he hath no part of the inheritance with thee, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow, which are within thy gates, shall come, and they shall eat and be satisfied. And the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all the work of thine hand which thou doest. Chapter 15. At the end of every 7 years thou shalt make a release. And this is the manner of the release. Every creditor that lendeth aught unto his neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it at his on his neighbor or of his brother, because it is called the Lord's release. Of a foreigner thou mayest exact it again, but that which is thine with thy brother, thine hand shall release, save when there shall be no poor among you. For the Lord shall greatly bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it. Only if thou carefully hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all these commandments which I command thee this day. For the Lord thy God blessed thee as he promised thee, and thou shalt lend unto many nations, for thou shalt not borrow, and thou shalt reign over many nations, but they shall not reign over thee. If there be among you a poor man of one of thy brethren within any of thy gates in thy land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not harden thy heart, nor shut thine hand from thy poor brother, but thou shalt open thine hand wide unto him, and thou shalt surely lend him sufficient for his need in that which he wanteth. Beware that there be not a thought in thy wicked heart, saying, the 7th year, the year of release, is at hand, and thine I be evil against thy poor brother, and thou givest him not, and he cry unto the Lord against thee, and it be seen unto thee. So don't say, because as the 7th year is almost here, if I borrow this guy this money now and he doesn't pay by the 7th year, I will have to forsake it. Don't be that person. This whole part is talking about generosity, really. Verse 10, thou shalt surely give him, and thine heart shall not be grieved when thou givest unto him, because that for this thing the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thy works, and in all that thou puttest thine hand unto. For the poor shall never cease out of the land. Therefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt open thine hand wide unto thy brother, to thy poor and to thy needy in thy land. And if thy brother, an Hebrew man or an Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. And when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. Thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy flock and out of thy floor, and out of thy winepress of that wherewith the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, thou shalt give unto him. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in the land of Egypt, and the Lord thy God redeemed thee. Therefore I command thee this thing today. And it shall be, if he say unto thee, I will not go away from thee, because he loveth thee and thine house, because he is well with thee, then thou shalt take an awl and thrust it through his ear unto the door, and he shall be thy servant forever. And also unto thy maidservant thou shalt do likewise. It shall not seem hard unto thee when thou sendest him away free from thee, for he hath been worth a double higher servant to thee, in serving thee 6 years. And the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all that thou doest. All the firstling males that come of thy herd and of thy flock thou shalt sanctify unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not do no work with the firstling of thy bullock, nor share the firstling of thy sheep. Thou shalt eat it before the Lord thy God year by year in the place which the Lord shall choose, and thou and thy household. And if there be any blemish therein, as if it be lame or blind, or have any ill blemish, thou shalt not sacrifice it unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt eat it within thy gates. The unclean and the clean person shall eat it alike, as the roebuck and as the hart. Only thou shalt not eat the blood thereof. Thou shalt pour it upon the ground as water. May God bless the reading of his word. I think I find this part of Deuteronomy very interesting, where God is telling them, these are the things to do, these are the things not to do, in generosity. This is what you should do. In the 7th year, whatever is owed to you, you have to let it go. It's the year of the release. As believers today, we can take a lesson from that in generosity. Now, God has blessed you. When God is nudging your heart to be of help to your brother, don't turn a blind eye. Don't pretend like you don't hear God. Don't pretend like you don't know what he's saying. Be there for your brother. Show generosity. We don't have an ordinance of the the seventh year of the year of release and stuff like that. But we know we have the Spirit of God on our inside, and the Holy Spirit in you makes it such that you don't need these regulations to know the right thing to do, because you now have a regulator on your inside that is telling you the right things to do. So you know when you should give that brother what he needs, even though it might be hard for you. You know when you should let that thing go, even though it's not like you have excess, but you know you can tell that God is nudging your heart in that direction. So yeah, that's what stood out for me this evening. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Do well to share this with friends and loved ones so that they join us in reading the Bible together. And yes, ensure you're subscribed. If you're not already subscribed, why? What are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button and click the bell icon so that you are aware every single time that we are live. Thank you again for joining me tonight. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow is my birthday. See you tomorrow as we read the Bible together. Have a lovely evening.